All right, back with part 2 on the home stretch for Unit 6 here. Generating your own model, business and production. This is very similar to the examples that we did in yet last day's note that were with measurement, except for this has got to do with business and manufacturing essentially. So in this question, it says a factory employee that works an 8-hour shift can produce an average of 150 parts per hour, but every 30 minutes for every 30 minutes of overtime, the employee gets tired, and averages 10 fewer parts per hour. It says represent the parts produced as a function. So notice that there's a couple of things going on for how many parts an employee can produce. It's basically the number of hours that they worked multiplied by the parts per hour, right? And there's two parts to this question. There's sort of like the normal work day is 8 hours, 150 parts per hour, right? So on a normal work day, 7 till 3 or whatever it is, that's 1,200 parts they could produce on average. But for overtime, where let's let X be the number of overtime hours. So the number of overtime hours is just X, but the parts per hour is 150, but it goes down by 10 parts for every 30 minutes of overtime. So notice 10 parts for 30 minutes, that's 20 parts for an hour, right? So for every hour of overtime, 20 parts fewer. Hopefully that makes sense. And then overall, for the entire day, the parts produced is the 1,200 normal plus the overtime parts, right? And the idea here is that production it's a quadratic function, right? So leading coefficient's negative, so it's going to start low and end low, and the zeros, who knows what they'll mean or whatever. But the idea here is we want to find the maximum production. There's the production function, and it's a function. The independent variable is the number of hours of overtime. Right? At some point the employee will get too tired and won't be producing any parts anymore, right? And we can see, for instance, if they work 7 hours of overtime, which is illegal, I think, that for 7 hours of overtime, they're only producing 10 parts an hour, where it's usually 150. So there's a balance there, right? There's a balance there. How long should the employee work to maximize production? Well, how do we do this? We skip to the TI-83. So I'm going to put that function into the TI-83 and look for a maximum. Okay, I still got from the first, there's our self-esteem question. Got to clear all that crud out. I pressed Y equals, press clear all that stuff off, go up to plot 1 and press enter and shut off the plots, and now I'm going to put in my production function. X squared. And what would be like decent window settings, right? I don't have any data, so I can't just press zoom 9 to get the calculator to pick the data. So what would be decent window settings? And these are the window settings from before, so this is no good. How many hours of overtime? Well, I guess we could work 0 hours of overtime. In that case, that would be just a normal 8-hour shift. But what would be a maximum in a day? Well, who knows? So let's put in 10 to start. That's a long day for a factory worker, by the way, folks. 8 hour day plus 10 hour. I think that's illegal as well, but that'll be sort of like our maximum that you can do, and we'll go up by ones. As far as parts, let's start at 0. We could go a little bit negative up. There's no such thing as negative parts, though. That doesn't make any sense. How far up is it going to go? Well, I see that if there's 0 hours overtime, we're making 1,200 parts. So let's go a little bit above that. Let's go to 2,000, say. Up by 500, so that looks okay. And I'm going to press graph. Production goes up, then production goes down as the employee tires from working too much overtime. There's the maximum right there. This is easy peasy now. Now that I got a function, I just want to find the maximum, and I can go to the left of the function, or left of the maximum rather, right of the maximum, and then a guess around there maybe. I'm going to take a picture of this. So I'm going to say maximum production of 1,481 parts occurs when the employee works 3.75, 3.75, 3.75 hours overtime. Notice that this doesn't say anything about all the money you have to pay to have people work overtime, or whether that's worth it. This is just if you've got lots and lots of parts to put out in a factory, what do? Well, you'd ask them to work 3.75 hours of overtime. Quota, and that's not 25 cents. That's not what quota is. Quota is 1,000 parts per day. What range of hours could an employee work and still make quota? So notice that was the 1,250. The 1,000 is along here somewhere, right? So where's 1,000 on this? Well, I can do this. I want to know when is the production equal to 1,000. And if I press graph, I see, but notice that I could have a shorter work day than the normal. It looks like I could work less than that and still get my 1,000 parts in. So I'm going to actually go back a little bit here and go to negative maybe 5 hours and have a look. There's my parabola. Now who knows? Who knows what this means as far as negative. Well, I think I do know what negative hours overtime means. It means that you work less than a full workday. A workday would be 0 hours overtime, and if a worker works less than that, they could still make quota. So let's just see here. I'm going to find the intersection of that curve and that curve. I'm going to go over to this one first. I'll go to the close one. What the heck? Guess there. I'm going to copy this. You should copy too, I guess. And then I want to find the other intersect value. First curve, second curve, and then what's this guess? See, each of these dots, maybe I'm going to try around 10. I don't know how many that is, but I'm going to guess around 10. 8.65. So that point there is 8.65. And remember, 8.65. X is the hours of overtime, remember. Overtime hours. So even though this is kind of weird, overtime hours of negative, that means less than a full work day. So the employees could work, you know, X equals negative, anywhere, I should say between here, that was bad English, between 0.6 and X equals 8.65 hours of overtime, of OT, overtime, or regular work days 8 hours, right? That would be less than 8 hours, maybe 6.84 hours, or this is a wicked long day, 16.65 hours of overtime before they start not meeting quota. All right, and that's all for Unit 6. Good luck with the homework. Thanks for stopping by.